There we go. Hello, and thank you for joining me again today to talk about homeschooling right now during school closures due to COVID-19. Once again, if you don't know me, my name is Tondway, and I am the owner and primary tutor at A Helpful Tutor. I have 6 years of teaching and tutoring experience and 3 years of experience teaching online. So I previously did a video giving just some general tips about uh, homeschooling just for people who've never done this before and wanted some quick tips on how just to get started. But I've been seeing lots of parents frustrated with this whole process and wanted to give some additional tips focusing on some feedback that I got when I reached out and asked parents what it was specifically that they're struggling with. So today I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about managing overwhelm, which seems to be a very common issue right now with parents. I'm going to talk about controlling screen time and its effects. And then I'm also going to talk about concerns about students falling behind due to being out of class. So I hope one of those three topics is useful to you, if not all of them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to be kind of quick today. So the first thing is managing overwhelm. So many parents I've seen have been feeling stressed, overwhelmed about keeping up with assignments, using multiple different platforms, having to basically take on the role of a teacher for their child, which for many of them is a completely new thing. So how do we handle this? Well, first of all, I want to say be gentle with yourself. Like I said before, this is a new thing for most parents. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on your students. Stress is not ideal in a learning situation. I understand that this is a stressful thing, so eliminating stress entirely won't be possible. But if something is becoming too stressful for you, take a step back because your children are going to pick up on that stress. You're going to be stressed in a time when you already have a lot to be stressed about. So try to minimize that as much as possible, and I'll talk a little bit later on about some ways that you can do that. In my first video, I mentioned ways that you can get organized by getting all your materials together and creating kind of like a workspace, a dedicated workspace where you and your children can work together. Or if you don't have a dedicated workspace, just getting those materials into a box. So you can easily get those things to where you want to work when the time comes and then put them away when you're finished. But another tip that I think is useful now, since so many kids are doing online classes and using online resources and different things to do assignments and activities, would be to, of course, bookmark those pages that your students are working on. So, and even to go so far as to create individual folders for each class so that it's very easy to get to the sites that you need to without you having to go dig through emails or go to different websites to figure out where you need to go. Bookmark those things, add a little description if that helps you so you can easily get to where you need. And then also if your children are at a place where they can work independently, they can get to those things on their own as well. Use a planner or a calendar. Probably more so useful again for students that are a little bit older. They can use that on their own. You can teach them how to use it and then they can use that calendar, or you can fill it in for them and they can keep track of what they've done or what they need to do. Still can be useful for younger students depending on how much work they have. That would be more so for you than for them, but that will help you know that you've done what you need to do, or there's still things remaining that need to be done. Write down due dates, the class that it's assigned for, as much information as you can, as you need to help you minimize how much you have to go back and look at other things. Having things together in one place can really help manage your stress. Try not to get behind. I'll talk more about this later. If it happens, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it, but of course it's always harder to come back from being behind than it is to keep up with where you stay current. It's harder to come back from behind. Now, if it happens again, it's okay. Just make sure you don't get further behind trying to catch up on what you've already missed. So if you realize that you forgot something, overlooked something, missed something, it's all right. Stay on top of the things that are still yet to be done. Make sure you're still getting those things done. But then when you have time, you can go back and work on what you're missing, and just make sure you stay current while also kind of trying to work backwards. If you can't work backwards, it's okay. This is a crazy time. Be realistic with your expectations of what you're going to be able to get done. And in that note, communicate with your teachers and with your schools. Let them know, hey, you're giving us way too many assignments. Teachers may not be communicating with each other to know how much work overall your students have. This is new for them too. So they're trying to make sure that your students are still getting a quality education. But again, they're at home now. They're not in a school. They're not in a classroom where they have a dedicated teacher and a dedicated learning environment. They now have their parents who may also be working, doing many other things in the home or outside of the home that are trying to now take that, fill in for that teacher, at least in managing assignments and making sure that additional things get done. So communicate with them. Again, let them know, hey, it would work better for me if we did things this way. Can we try this instead? Every suggestion you give may not be taken, but we're all figuring this out together. So don't be afraid to let them know what your frustrations are as well. Keep in mind that they're probably also stressed. They've been thrown into this too. So be kind in your communications. Give them time to respond to you. They're stressed too. We're all stressed here. Now, I think one of the most important things that you can do in all of this process is to remember that you're in charge now. This is not, you're not at the, you can decide. You have more power now than you did when your kids were going into a classroom. If something isn't working for you, you have to do what you can do. If you're still working outside of the home, if you're working at home, if you have multiple kids that are in different levels, kids that need help with every assignment, you may not be able to do everything, and that's okay. You have to decide what's most important for your child's education, what you believe needs to be done, and do those things. And don't beat yourself up over things that you can't do or, things that fall through the cracks. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You're doing the best that you can, and you are now responsible for something that before you were not. So take what you can and leave the rest. Okay, so now I want to talk about another concern that I've seen frequently from parents is the amount of screen time that their kids are getting. So, okay, there we go. There we go. Controlling the screen time and the effects that increased screen time can have on your kids. So for most kids, due to the fact that they are completing a lot of activities online, maybe attending classes online, their screen time is going to increase. There are things that you can do to try to mitigate the strain that can place on your child. For example, blue light glasses or screen covers on your screen to minimize the blue light, which is there are other reasons why screen time is harmful, but the blue light coming from the screen has some definitely detrimental effects on the eyes. So you can use one of those two methods to try to reduce that. Another option is using the night light setting on your computer, which I use on my computer and also on my phone, which will warm up the tone of the screen and also cut down on the blue light that you're getting from that. Another thing is definitely to make sure to take breaks. Kids should not be working for hours on end in front of the computer without taking time away. That's just not, you don't want to be focusing our eyes on one thing for that long, regardless of what it is. There should be 15-minute breaks worked in frequently. Personally, I say, or you can do it in a variety of ways. One option is 30 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or an hour on, 15 minutes off. You work that out in the way that seems best for you, but definitely working in those breaks to rest the eyes, maybe going outside, something to kind of take the eyes off of focusing just squarely on one thing will definitely be helpful. And taking breaks is useful anyway because the mind needs a rest when we're working on things. It's just generally not good to be working straight through on something for hours at a time. Another, I had a parent specifically ask for off-screen learning activities. So they wanted some ideas of things that they could do away from the computer in order to minimize screen time or to cut down on screen time. And I think I might have lost my stream here. Give me a moment. Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to post some links for those kinds of activities in the comments. I won't be able to, or I'll do that at the end of the video just to kind of keep things flowing here. But I did find some resources that I think will be helpful for cutting down on screen time or engaging in other educational activities that are away from the screen. And then, of course, we can reduce the time with other screens. So if your child is having to spend more time on the computer, we can cut back on the amount of time that they're watching TV or using phones. If that's not something that they do normally, that option won't work for you. But again, you're in charge here. So you decide what you feel is appropriate. If it goes beyond that point, if it goes beyond a point where you feel it's safe or healthy for your child, you make that call. This is it's your classroom now. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is, actually one more tip for screen time. Make sure you're avoiding screen time right before bed because that can affect sleep. And of course, we want to make sure the kids are getting a good night's sleep right now. So the last thing I want to talk about today is the concern that kids are going to be falling behind, that because they're been out of school for so long, and because they're learning in a different way now online that may not be the most effective for all of them, or parents are having to step in and may not feel like things are working out as best as they could, that the kids will be behind. It's definitely a possibility, and I don't want to diminish that concern, but I do want to say that it's okay that you're not a teacher. You're your child's parent. You're not your child's teacher. You're not expected to be your child's teacher. You're temporarily filling in a role that, because the students can't go into an actual classroom that normally would be filled by someone else. And that's not to say that you're not doing well or that you're not doing your best, but this is not the norm. So everyone is going to have to adjust going forward. This is an unprecedented thing that we're going through right now, or not unprecedented, but at least for most of us, it's not something that we've experienced before. So if your child does get behind, they can catch up. It's not like these couple of months determine their entire future. There is time to correct anything that may be missing or that you feel they may have not completely understood. it, they can catch up. It will be okay. You'll have time over the summer potentially. Some schools may offer, extended learning through the summer or other options for catching students up over that time, depending on how things are when the actual calendar school year ends. But hopefully there will be other options and other opportunities for kids to get caught up before the next school year starts. And just remember that education is much more than what kids are learning in a classroom or learning from books. At home, they can learn from you. They can learn about your work. They can learn about topics that they're interested in that maybe there's not time for them to learn about in the classroom, or maybe the lesson moves on and they want to go into further detail about a particular topic. You can let them explore that. And I think that's a great thing to kind of consider. And it can also be a way to really get your kids excited about learning again, because in the classroom, everything is kind of prescribed and has to follow a certain calendar. So if there's something an area where your child shows interest, or something that you feel compelled to teach them about, go for it. Those are kind of the richest educational experiences that kids can have. They remember those things a lot more. So don't be so stuck on the progression, the progression that the school says that your child needs to go to. There's so much more to education to that. And I think the most important thing is just inspiring a love for learning in your child, so that they want to continue to learn on their own, and they continue to explore new information and new ideas. That's really, in my opinion, that's really the goal of education, is to encourage children to want to learn. And that's what will propel them into, greater educational opportunities in their future. So be gentle with yourself. Again, I want to repeat that. Manage your expectations. Don't set the bar too high for yourself to reach, or for your kids to reach. Don't make this a horrible ordeal that you have to go through. Try to have fun with it. Try to have fun with your kids. Try to enjoy this opportunity that you have to learn together. And if you need assistance, or if you would like more help with structuring a program or system that can work for you and your family, you're welcome to reach out to me through Facebook message, or through an email, or the contact form on my website, www.ahelpfultutor.com. I'm happy to provide more information or insight to you in whatever way that I can, to answer more questions. If you want to comment on this video, or again, send a message to me on Facebook, I'm here to help. Education is very important to me, especially for children. So I want to do whatever I can to help to make sure that this difficult transition and difficult time is as smooth as possible for both parents and students. So please don't hesitate to contact me if I can help you in any way. So once again, my name is Tandaway, and I am the owner and primary tutor at A Helpful Tutor. Those are my 3 tips for you today, or my suggestions for you in dealing with these frustrations that you may be experiencing while homeschooling your kids. If you missed any part of this and you think it would be helpful for you, go ahead and rewatch this video. I think there's a lot of good information here that can help you. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great week, and hopefully your week going forward can be better than your experiences that you've had so far. Thanks so much.